The Pirates righted the ship, took the series against the Rockies with a pretty convincing win on Thursday. Offense led the way. Ryan O'Hearn leading the charge for the offense. It's a good sign for someone who had been struggling a little bit the last couple weeks, but I kind of came to a realization. This offense isn't just running through one or two people finally. Good morning and welcome to Offbeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. My name is Alex Stumpf, and this is a daily look at your Pittsburgh Pirates. Whenever the Pirates signed Ryan O'Hearn, it looked like everything they wanted for a variety of reasons. The first being big left-handed bat. They needed to just improve this offense. O'Hearn liked what he saw whenever they acquired Brandon Lowe. He's friends with him, respects him, had a really good conversation with Don Kelly, believed in the direction that this organization was heading, and it was like, you know what? We're going to do it. He signs a 2-year deal this offseason, and he's kind of been a perfect fit for this team. Not just for the fact that he's produced, he's also been the clubhouse leader. He's been a guy who just checks every box that they needed. They needed an all-star level hitter. They needed someone with some defensive versatility, can play the outfield. He's actually done quite well in the outfield, considering that he'd been basically a first baseman primarily the last couple years. He's been the clubhouse leader. He's done basically everything the Pirates could have asked him to do. And this Pirates offense is drastically better than it was last year. And you look at those external additions. You look at Lowe, you look at O'Hearn, you can look at Ozuna, who has hit better in May, still well below average on the year, but he has heated up a bit. You look at what Griffin's been contributing up at the major league level. So this offense has improved in large part because of people who weren't here last year. And O'Hearn, he got into a slump. After a really strong April, he had a 10-12 game slump, which every hitter is going to go through over the course of a season. And he's broken out of it, it looks like. The homers in back-to-back days, putting together just some really good swings. And he was asked about it, and he gave a lot of credit to the hitting department, said that they noticed that his setup was a little different. And it's one of those things that if you played ball, you could feel like something's maybe not right, but you don't know how to identify what it is. He identified it. The team identified it. He's put together some really good swings. And he was asked, like, what's different? And I had to pull up the quote here to make sure I'm not misrepresenting, because he was very specific. He talked about how he was 2 inches wider in his stance. His hands were closer to his head, and his left foot was turned 6 degrees closer to third base, to the third base dugout, instead of more towards the pitcher. I fancy myself as being pretty good at identifying mechanics and changes and why that matters to a player and what, what goes into that. I wouldn't have gotten that stuff. I will admit, I would not have gotten like, hey, it looks like your foot's a little too close to the third base dugout. I don't have that in me. Sorry, guys. But you know what? The Pirates hitting team identified it. O'Hearn was receptive to the coaching. He's been able to apply it. It's what you want to see from a veteran hitter. That, yeah, it's a game of failure. Everyone's going to have ups and downs. It's how do you respond whenever you're in one of those downs. And he showed that he was collaborative, that he was willing to work, that he's able to translate that work into a game. Has a couple more home runs in it. And the home run that he hit in the first inning on third, the pace for the game. This was a game that the Pirates knew that they were going to be relying on their bullpen, and that bullpen has struggled, and they were up 1-0 at the time, but you don't win a lot of games 1-0. It was one of those, you still have to pile on runs. He makes that first inning a crooked number. He contributes a little later in the game, too. It's what they needed. He's been what they needed this whole year. I've also realized, though, that he went through a cold stretch a little bit. And Oneil Cruz went through a recent kind of cold stretch. And Brandon Lowe has had some moments where he's not really been that hot. And Bryan Reynolds has moments whenever he's not been that hot. This offense, outside of like maybe coming out of the gate a little slow, those first couple series, has been remarkably consistent this year. Yeah, there are going to be some games whenever they only are able to put together 1 or 2 runs or maybe even get shut out. But they haven't been kept down long. It's not like last year whenever they had that stretch of 20-something games where they didn't score more than 4 runs. It had tied a major league record. All right, there is not that. There's just a little better of a lineup throughout, that people are able to contribute a little more. And if 1 or 2 hitters aren't on right now, there's someone else who can help out. It's far from the 1 through 9 that, they're striving for and that Don Kelly has talked about. I still view this as a very top-heavy offense right now. Like, if it's not, the 1 through 4 or 1 through 5 spots producing, you can't really count on the back end, I feel like, to do all that much still. But there's enough depth that it's not just 1 or 2 guys. It's not like last year where whenever Reynolds gets off to that slow start or Oneil Cruz has a rough go, where it's like, well, they're just not scoring because there are just not enough hitters who are able to put together consistent quality at bats. The Pirates have that right now. And I don't mean to discredit what O'Hearn means to this team. He brings a lot to this group. And we're going to talk about that here in 84 seconds.
This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack hydration sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom coffees are the delicious, low-sugar, brain and body fuel you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way for you to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. All IQ Bar products are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. The Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. My personal favorites so far have been the almond butter chip and the iced tea lemonade hydration mix. It's just really full of flavor. I love starting my day with it, and I couldn't imagine starting my day with anything else other than IQ Bar products. Right now, IQ Bar is offering our podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB 64000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
O'Hearn came into this game with an OPS of 808 whenever the Pirates win and an 818 OPS whenever they lose. Now, if you want to be really cynical and be like, okay, does his contributions, do they actually matter? Yes, they do. They're playing a big part in the Pirates' wins. He has really good numbers. It's an OPS over 800 whenever there's runners on base. It's an OPS over 800 whenever it's 2 outs and there are runners in scoring position. Those moments where you need a big bat, he has done really well in those spots. And he's provided the left-handed pop that this team hasn't consistently had in the Ben Cherington era. That was the biggest thing this offseason. The Pirates' number 1 goal was, we have to improve this lineup. We have to get deeper. And they knew all along it had to be hitters. This wasn't just one guy who could fix this. This needed to be multiple. And O'Hearn was one of their top targets for the very obvious reason of he crushes right-handed hitting or right-handed pitching. But we've also seen him take better swings against left-handers than he did a couple years ago. And it's gotten to the point that if he needs to sit a day, yeah, it probably is advantageous to do against the lefty, but we've seen him in the lineup against left-handed starters and how that creates opportunities late in the game. If he's able to stay in that spot and you don't have to bring in pinch hitters off the bench or reconfigure the lineup where there are just a bunch of right-handers on top. No, like he can just stay in that lineup. He can continue to give quality at bats. That's what this offense is circled around right now. They know it needs to be a team effort. That even though Lowe has 10 home runs, and I believe Cruz also has 10, if not like 9, they have 4 guys at the top of the lineup. They're 1 through 4 who could probably each hit 25 home runs this year. This is a team that has a chance to set a franchise record for home runs. And I know that's not as impressive as it was maybe a decade ago whenever, we had the juice ball era for a little bit. But this is a team that can create instant offense. They want to play the 1 through 9, get your hits whenever there's runner in scoring position, produce with 2 outs. But you know what? You need that instantaneous offense too in this game in 2026, especially with, how outfielders play right now. The way they're positioned, it's tougher to get doubles now. You need to just be able to occasionally launch one out of the ballpark. And O'Hearn is a big part of that. And the fact that he's been batting 4th for most of this year, he's kind of been the last of the big bats. Whenever I say this is a top-heavy offense and you have to rely on 1 through 4, he's the 4. He is the guy who it's old school baseball. You want the cleanup hitter to be the bad dude who is going to knock those guys in who are on base. In that first inning, you're hoping that at least 1 or 2 guys get on base for your cleanup hitter, and he's going to be able to come through. He has done that so far. The Pirates needed this bat, and it's really big for them that he's heating up again. But in the past, whenever they have brought in guys like, not to throw him under the bus, I'm going to bring up Rowdy here for a second. When the Pirates acquired Rowdy Tellez, they thought he was going to be a bounce-back candidate. He was someone who had hit 30-something homers before in the past. Maybe he could do it again. But whenever he didn't, they didn't have a whole lot of guys who had legitimate power threat. Like, yeah, Reynolds and Cruz could both hit 20, but Cruz was coming off of the ankle injury. Reynolds is someone who is more a 20 home run guy than he is a 30 home run guy. They all of a sudden didn't really have a lot of power, and without the power, Rowdy wasn't much of an offensive player. And without the offense, Rowdy wasn't much of a, he didn't offer that much in terms of WAR and value. O'Hearn is offering stuff with the glove. He's been by far their best defender in the outfield this year, which we can argue maybe isn't quite the feather in the cap that it probably should be, but I want to give him his flowers for what he's doing right now. He has been a plus defender in the outfield. I honestly didn't know if I saw that full-heartedly. I view him as a really good defensive first baseman, someone who could compete for a Gold Glove there, but he's willing to play out of position. He's willing to do that. He's contributing there. The OPS, a lot of it is singles and walks and finding ways to get on base otherwise. And now with this little tweak right here, if he's going to have that consistent power, that's big for the offense. The offense it's not all or nothing on someone like O'Hearn to provide power. But whenever he gets going, it means a lot. Thursday's game could have been a lot different if O'Hearn didn't take control early on. And yeah, it's 1 out of 162. It's a Rockies team that's not going to compete. But coming off of a series loss on the road, it's a little easier to stomach that whenever you come home and you take care of business. And O'Hearn was a big part of that this series. Thank you so much for listening to Offbeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, whether that's the audio version or if you want to see my smiling face on YouTube here in section 322. Thank you so much for listening. Have a fun weekend. We'll talk again on Monday.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.